Alright, so check this out. We've got this boat here, right, and we don't see any engines. Probably gonna be an inboard type of boat. But then you come up here to the dash and you hit this switch that lifts this hatch. And once that hatch lifts all the way up, we come back here and what do we find? Look at this, we've got a set of outboards on this thing, which is a pretty sweet design, but you let us know what you think down below. Now, I generally only get to mess with center consoles, flats boats, dinghies, cats, and mainly just outboard driven boats, which is just a small section of the boating world that many others get to play around in. So here are the top 10 different types of boats that you can find on the water. Starting with a boat that is called a trawler, these kinds of boats are going to be a displacement type of hull that is generally used for what you could call transient recreation. They are usually powered by diesel engines and have plenty of space and room for amenities so that you can make long voyages from different places. They're great for taking trips like, say, the Great Loop, where you can follow the river systems through the United States and then all the way back around the Atlantic side of the USA, down and around Florida and back. They are the perfect cruiser type of boat that you would have no problem living on for extended periods of time. These boats are generally powered by diesel engines, and staying on this topic of being able to live on the boat, let's talk about sailboats next. This is another type of boat that is built for pretty much living on. Sailboats have been around for a long time, probably since boating was even a thing. Most sailboats, outside of using the wind and sails in order to power and move the boat, will either use an inboard engine, also commonly a diesel engine, or a smaller outboard on a jack plate on the back of the boat, which is known as a kicker engine. Of course, once you get into the actual niche of sailboats, there are a few different designs and types of these boats that you can find based on different aspects of the boat hull, the keel designs, and how the sails and masts are set up. A few of the most common types of sailboats are going to be your sloops, which just have one mast or two sails on them, cutters, which are like the sloops with a third sail on them, schooners, which have two or more masts on them, but the back mast is either the same height or taller than the other masts, and there's way more than that as well, but you can let everyone know what your favorite type is in the comment section below. Next up, let's talk about bass boats. Now these are another breed all on their own. Bass boats are usually made out of aluminum or fiberglass and range around 16 to 25 feet. Your bass boat is usually going to come with the biggest horsepower outboard that will fit on it because most bass fishermen want to go from spot to spot as quickly as possible. So they also like to swing the biggest prop that they possibly can as well. The boat's design is pretty simple though, mainly just as flat a deck as possible with lots of storage, live wells, spots for swivel seats, and then they will usually also have power poles and trolling motors put on them as well. Usually a bass boat will easily do over 50 miles an hour, but then that might also be on the slower side where they will usually push up into the 70s, and then the higher end models are going to go above that all the way up into the 90s. These are usually used on lakes and rivers, whereas our next boat is going to be more of your offshore fishing style, being what I like to call a sport fish style of boat. But let's actually talk about this style at the same time we talk about the yacht type of boat as well, because this can get a little controversial these days since there are many different manufacturers producing a massive variety and mixture of different styles of boats built all into one boat, and also a wide variety of boaters that now use terms interchangeably, as well as the fact that these days most sport fishing boats are more of a yacht than what was considered a yacht 15 years ago. To me, a sport fishing boat is the larger, say 28 feet plus boats that have a cabin in the front, a flybridge on the top, and a pilot house. The back is completely open and set up for fishing, usually with a fighting chair in the middle of the deck. Also powered by some sort of inboard engine, usually diesel, and that's what I would consider a sport fish. But this type of boat now comes in all kinds of variations that many consider being a yacht, which is kind of a vague term now as well. I mean, really, most sportfish boats, your Vikings, Hatterases, Merritts, and Bertrams, are all yachts. They're huge, and the amenities are more than what some of us have in our houses. So I'd consider these yachts anyway, as well as what you would normally consider a yacht, a larger boat over roughly 40 feet that you can live on. I don't know if I would personally consider these massive center consoles like the CVs, the Yellowfins, and the other massive center console boats with outboards yachts. Even though they probably could be considered a yacht, just to me, when you say the word yacht, I'm picturing a 60-footer with diesels, 3 staterooms, 2 bathrooms, a flybridge, dining rooms, living room quarters, kitchens, and stuff like that. But in that same breath, look at some of these boats. This is our next type, being the center console boats, and these bigger boats are coming with bedrooms, kitchenettes, and bathrooms. So when you look at them, I mean, this thing cost over $1 million, so would you consider this a yacht? I don't know, you tell me. But the normal center console is just a plain boat that has the console in the middle of the boat. These boats will usually range from a 15-footer up to around a 60-footer, but they give you a full 360-degree access all the way around the boat, and they are generally equipped with outboards. Most center console boats are built for fishing and or diving, depending on what you like to do. They come in all kinds of variations with seating, no seating, leaning posts, captain's chairs, open bows, decked out bows, engine brackets, Euro transoms, and hundreds of other variations that you can find being built among the hundreds of center console manufacturers. Center consoles also have a monohull, even though our next type can have the console in the middle of the boat, but they aren't a monohull boat. These are going to be your catamarans, where we have 2 separate hulls that ride through the water and can have the console in the middle or on the sides of the boat. Most catamarans are built with the same or similar intentions to the center consoles, where they are being used primarily for fishing and diving or cruising around, but not necessarily for overnight stays, as some of the other boats that we've talked about. Catamarans generally come with outboards, but there are some that are built with inboards or other types of power as well. These boats usually come in lengths of the low 20s to the upper 40s for your recreational use, but there are many cats that go way above that and come in sizes of your 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90 feet. Cats have a really efficient hull design for when it comes to moving through the water compared to the monohulls. They have the stability of having 2 supporting hulls on both sides of the boat, whereas the monohulls can get tippy when you get too much weight on one side or the other. But the deck layouts can range from the center console to a forward cabin and even a dual console style of setup. Bringing us to another type of boat, being a dual console or a bow rider style of boat, which is a super popular type of boat that can be found with an inboard or an outboard. These boats will come from a small 15-footer and then also roll up into the larger 30-footers as well. We're rolling these 2 types into one because most bow riders are all dual consoles. You can find all kinds of different layouts when it comes to a bow rider, from a bench seat that goes all the way around to just a seat on one side or the other and a more open bow style. This is a common layout for like a family sport type of boat or other normal smaller style boats. It's actually the main type of layout that our next boat is going to have in it, being your wake, surf, or ski boat. Pretty much your water sports type of boat. Most of these boats are going to have the dual console type of setup with the seating and layout around the bow of the boat. But the difference between this and your typical bow rider is that these boats are set up specifically for doing water sports. They come with a ton of seating, but also have the hull design that will allow them to make a controlled weight. You'll have ballast tanks that can add up to thousands of pounds of extra weight to the boat by filling these ballasts full of water, which will sink the boat lower in the water, allowing you to make a much bigger or smaller wake for whatever you are trying to do. The most common type of wake boat these days are really geared towards surfing, whereas they used to be more geared towards skiing and you didn't need the bigger wake, but then wakeboarding became more popular, so the weight became more necessary. And now with surfing, you need a lot more weight to get that perfect wave behind the boat. Water sports boats are going to come in around your 18 to your mid 20 or about the 25-foot range. Though there are newer boats being designed all the time, like this 35-foot long Gigawave, which would carry a ton of people on it, which is also the main objective of our next boat in the lineup, being the famous pontoon boat. These boats are basically a platform that sits on either 2 or 3 round aluminum pontoons and has seating pretty much all around the entire boat. Pontoons have traditionally been thought of as the slow-moving party boat that can hold 15 people and is used to just putt around the lake for sunsets and canal cruising. Though these days that has become less of the typical pontoon boat, where they used to come with say a 25 or a 40 horsepower engine, now they come with twin 450s and are pushing 70 miles an hour around the lake. Not your typical putt-putt pontoon boat. but you can still load them up with a ton of people and enjoy your time out on the water for some canal cruising or sunset cruising.